Okay. Yeah.
Hello,
Yes, please. Who is this?
I'm Sandeep this side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to illustrate the example you have given that a child accidentally
Hmm.
drops.
Hmm.
So this does not come in the definition of crime.
Hmm.
So there was no intention to do anything on purpose,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
mental capability of the person in subject is of a child.
Hmm.
So crime is not committed in this case. That's
Hmm.
my understanding. So you
Very
can
right.
elaborate
Very
on that.
right. Yes. Yes. Very right. Why I mentioned this crime? Why I mentioned this example? Because we were discussing what is a crime, what is a crime. So we were coming up with different illustrations, and Mr. Singh came up with a
Hmm.
wonderful illustration. But what I wanted to
Hmm.
point out is I wanted to point out the necessity of the intention. That is why I use this illustration, because the
Hmm.
action is happening, something is dropping, some mishap is happening. You can say even some negligence is
Yeah.
also happening. You can even say that
Right.
because of that some killing is also happening. But then also we are saying
Yeah.
there is no crime, because it
Hmm.
depends upon common sense, and it depends upon the Latin phrase which says actus non facit reum nisi mens sit rea. This is the basic postulate of criminal law, which goes on actus non facit reum nisi mens sit rea. I am writing it down. Actus non facit reum nisi, it's in Latin, nisi mens sit rea. It means to constitute a crime, both intention and both intention and action should concur. Actus non facit reum nisi mens sit rea. To constitute a crime, both intention and action should concur. So now the essentials are: one, mental element, mental element, mental element, that is your intention or guilty mind. Secondly, it is your physical element, physical element. Okay. So for an act to qualify as a crime, there should be two things: the mental element and physical element. Now, what is this mental element? This mental element can be the intention, and that intention or that mental element should be guilty. And then there should also be physical element. Any overt or covert act, any act should be there. So now, prohibited deed, prohibited deed or act, this is known as actus reus. Actus reus. Actus reus means prohibited deed. So for something to qualify as a crime traditionally, it should accompany both the guilty intention as well as the prohibited deed. For example, if Mr. X throws a rock from his house intentionally to kill someone, so there is intention to kill, and now he is throwing that rock. So now there is an illegal act also. So when these two things concur, it is said to be a crime. Now it is a complete crime, because now there is both mental element as well as physical element. One more thing, it is a very basic postulate of common sense. For example, if a child is there, say below 7 years of age, and by mistake he drops off a cup, and now his or her mom comes up and started shouting at him or her. Now what the child says? The child says, mama, maine janbooch ke nahi kiya, I have not done it intentionally. So even the child is speaking about intention. So this is very basic postulate of reasonability and fairness. So now if someone asks what is a crime is a deed which happens when there is a guilty mind, a mental element that is known as mens rea. In Latin phrase or in criminal law, we have to use the term mens rea. Mens rea signifies guilty mind. Mens rea signifies guilty mind. And then there should be some physical act, and that physical act should be prohibited. Now comes the definition of section 40. So when these two things will concur, then we will say an act qualifies to be crime. Is it clear up till now? So we will move forward. So now the basic essentials and basic elements of crime is actus reus plus mens rea. So now we can write like this in a mathematical formula. Crime is equal to mens rea plus actus reus. This is basically the definition of crime. And now whenever it is asked about crime, you have to write this formula. And after writing this formula, before that you can write actus non facitrium nisi mens rea. This is a Latin phrase, Latin maxim or phrase. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, who is this?
Can you again define mens rea plus? I'm Sandeep here.
Yeah, Mr. Sandeep, what's your question?
Can you again define mens rea and action rea?
Actus reus. Okay. Now I'm defining. First of all, I would give you. First of all, I would give you an illustration. For example, Mr. X is having a strained relationship with his wife. Mr. X is having a strained relationship with his wife, and now he wants to get rid of her. And so because he wants to get rid of her, he shoots at her and kills her. So now shooting at her is a prohibited deed. As per our code, Indian Penal Code, it is a prohibited deed. And the Latin version of prohibited deed is actus reus, something which is prohibited or something which is unlawful. So now by shooting at his wife, he is committing actus reus, that is the prohibited deed. And plus what was there? There was intention. Intention means he wants to do it voluntarily with some guilty mind. So now his guilty intention plus this illegal act amounts to crime. For example, in another set of scenario, if by mistake he fires at his wife, for example, she was being attacked by a lion or a tiger during a hunting spree in a forest, and then by mistake, instead of firing at the lion, by mistake he shoots his wife. So here it can be said that there was a prohibited act, but it was not accompanied by guilty intention. So therefore it can be a mistake or negligence, but it is not a crime. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, it's an incomplete definition, because number one, a crime may be valid for a particular state. For example, killing of an animal, say black buck, might be a criminal offense in this part of the world, but may not be an offense in another part of the world. So ideally, it should be a part of the definition. Number two, not every violation of law is a crime. So, like for example, a breach of contract, maybe it's not punishable by a criminal.
Who is this?
Hi, this is Doctor.
Doctor?
Dr. Aman Gupta.
Dr. Aman Gupta, great. But here what I want to say is, like when you are going into so much of nitty-gritty, we are discussing here about the traditional principles. Are you getting it? Traditionally what it is. Because if you will go more deep, then you will hear something about strict liability. In strict liability, there is no need of mens rea.
Okay.
So here we are discussing the traditional postulates of it. We are having many exceptions, but the rule is this. The basic rule is this. We can have certain exceptions. Now, as you are discussing about what was the first example which you gave?
For example, killing of an animal.
Killing of an animal. Okay. Killing of an animal. Fine. So killing of an animal, if it is not a crime, like cannabis is not, having cannabis is not crime in many countries.
True that.
So now what happens if you go by this definition of section 40? So it is not a prohibited deed. So it will not qualify to be a crime. So our formula is very much intact over here. our
Right.
formula that crime is mens rea plus actus reus. If that thing is not prohibited over there, then there is no issue.
Okay.
And
Right.
secondly, you mentioned about contract. Look, here we are discussing about crime in its traditional sense. I am discussing about
Right.
section 40. Contract is something which is personal or a civil wrong. It is not a crime. So try to
Right.
differentiate it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So then also, thank you so much, Mr. Raman Gupta. You came up with examples. We will go into detailing. They are all
Right.
exceptions when it comes to. But मोटे तौर पे यही है इसका आंसर. आगे तो exceptions आएंगे, ठीक है. तो अब हमारा ये डेफिनेशन निकल के आता है कि मेंस रिया और एक्टस रियस होना चाहिए. देयर शुड बी मेंस रिया प्लस एक्टस रियस. अब यहाँ पे होता है सवाल पैदा कि मेंस रिया मेंटल एलिमेंट जो है आपका गिल्टी माइंड होना चाहिए. तो ये इसके इलस्ट्रेशन मुझे दीजिए, क्या क्या हो सकते हैं मेंस रिया.
आपको चलना, हमारे को कोई सा फोन नहीं चल रहा.
बताइए.
यहाँ पर
एनीवन.
मैं तो फोन नहीं चल रहा है मेरा, तो मैं अभी.
हाँ, प्लीज म्यूट कर लीजिए, म्यूट कर लीजिए. आई रिक्वेस्ट यू टू काइंडली म्यूट योरसेल्फ. या अब यहाँ पे बात ये हो रही है, अब ये तो हमें क्लियर हो गया कि क्राइम होने के लिए मेंटल एलिमेंट होना चाहिए, फिजिकल एलिमेंट. मेंटल एलिमेंट आपका मेंस रिया है जिसे हम गिल्टी माइंड कहते हैं. फिजिकल एलिमेंट इज योर एक्टस रियस जिसे हम प्रोहिबिटेड डीड कहते हैं. अब मुझे ये बताएं कि मेंस रिया से आप समझते क्या हैं और मेंस रिया क्या क्या हो सकता है. क्लोनल कॉल, आर यू हियर?
यूट्यूब पे
मिस्टर अनिल कॉल. हेलो.
Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Clonal Rana. Yes. Yes, please. Can you give some
Please tell me, sir.
illustrations? What do you understand by mens rea? Can you give some illustrations? भाई जहां से भी पीछे से आवाज आ रही है बैकग्राउंड में, रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा हूं आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर लीजिए प्लीज. जी ठीक है. यस मिस्टर रैना.
Mens rea, like we had that case, that infamous. Can I quote a case, please?
Of course you can.
Like we had that infamous, Tandoor case.
Delhi Tandoor case, Congress MP. Yes.
Yeah. So he clearly had a guilty mind, for whatever he did, because he planned to kill her and then, put her in tandoor and all that. So I think it was a guilty mind, of course, then followed by actus reus, which was a prohibited act.
Yes. Fair enough. Mr. Rana.
But in that case, as much I remember,
yes.
The initial, the facts of the case was that I think initially his intention was not to kill. He killed after rage, but when he disposed the body, at that time his intention was to dispose the body. But when he came, he killed out of the rage. So I think, sir, put some light on it. I think he was not given. I think he has been paroled. That person has been paroled eventually. And उसने ये basis लिया था that he did not came with an intention to murder. When he came in, he got angry over his wife over some issue, and then out of the rage he killed her. And then later on he decided that now since he has killed her, so he made a plan to dispose of the body. It was not a premeditated murder. That will be the right thing which I would like to put in.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, Mr. Singh.
Malified, the word
yeah. Malified
intent.
Malified intention and premeditated murder are, sir, almost premeditated murder is more precise. Malified intentions can be on any act of crime which a person is going to commit. But here we are talking only in specific about the murder only.
Right.
Okay, Colonel Rana, do you agree with the facts provided by Mr. Singh?
I have not gone into the details of the case, so I don't know whether he killed it in on the fit of a rage. I think I'm not very clear on that. If that is so, if he actually killed on the fit of the rage, then maybe I will agree with Mr. Singh. Yes.
Yeah, and the guilty mind element, if you like to say, I think we can give, with all due respects to Colonel Rana, adding on to him, we can say that the serial killers, the cases of the serial killers which we see, where there is an intention murder or the contract killing, where you have a premeditated plan to kill someone, and you have this in mind that you are committing something which is of criminal nature, I think when your mind is completely aware of your act, I think that will qualify more as an intention or a
Fair
guilty
enough,
mind.
Mr. Singh. Now, instead of going too much
For
deep into
example,
the
doing
fact, who is this?
like for example, doing a surgery. Dr. Aman this side again.
Yes, please, Mr. Aman Desai.
So suppose while doing a surgery, some mishap happens. Intent is missing. The surgeon is not intending to kill his patient, but some mishap happened, and that's probably in spite of all the precautions a person has taken, some mishap.
That is
person
not a
dies.
guilty mind. That is not a guilty mind, sir. If the
Exactly.
surgery is done with
Not
an
meant to,
if the
sir.
surgery is done with an intention for an organ transplant, then it is a guilty mind.
And that also if it is illicit, even if that organ transplant is illicit, if it is legitimate,
Yes.
permissible, then it's not a crime. Now
Yes,
what you
yes.
are discussing
Yes.
Dr. Aman Gupta, if you will start reading from section 76 onwards to section 106 of the IPC, it talks about general exceptions. If any mishap happens when you have consented for some surgery with the surgeon, then it's not an offense. Basically, he's having that protection. Otherwise, all the surgeons and all the judges, they will always have a very rough time. Then they are protected by law. It comes under the heading of general exceptions of giving consent of doing something good. So here, what is the issue? I'm not going too deep because I don't exactly remember what are the exact facts of this Tandoor case. But I agree with Mr. Singh what he has said. Now, the issue here is we want to understand what is mens rea basically, and what are the different illustrations. And by quoting some examples or some illustrations like Tandoor case, I will try to explain you different illustrations of mens rea. It is clear up till now what is a crime. Crime is something which is being done with certain guilty mind or intention plus prohibited act. If this is done in the traditional sense, we will say that crime has occurred, or the basic essentials or postulates or principles of crime are achieved. Okay. Now, so can anyone give me illustration of a guilty mind? Like you were discussing about it was done because of grave provocation or because of some passion, as Mr. Singh was discussing. So what happens over here? If it is done with grave provocation, what happens? Section 300 के कुछ हमें वो मिल जाते हैं, जस्टिफिकेशन मिल जाते हैं कि सजा कम होगी आपको अगर ग्रेव प्रोवोकेशन पे कुछ होता है. तो मैं अब यहाँ पे मेंस रिया का इलस्ट्रेशन आप लोगों से पूछ रहा हूँ. तो सबसे पहले मेंस रिया का इलस्ट्रेशन होता है इंटेंशन. सबसे पहला जो इलस्ट्रेशन है वो है इंटेंशन. अब जो मिस्टर सिंह बात कह रहे थे कि उसने गुस्से में आके अचानक मार दिया, तो वो ये कह सकते हैं कि उसको इंटेंशन नहीं था. तो अगर इंटेंशन नहीं था तो फिर क्या था? गिल्टी माइंड तो था उसका, लेकिन वो गिल्टी माइंड का लेवल क्या था? इंसान को हाँ बताइए.
Intent and negligence, two elements have to be there.
वेरी नाइस, वेरी नाइस. अब देखिए, अब नेग्लिजेंस पे भी कई दफा आगे आप देखेंगे जो सवाल पैदा होता है कि वेदर नेग्लिजेंस क्वालिफाइज टू बी अ मेंस रिया और नॉट, बिकॉज नेग्लिजेंस इज समथिंग व्हिच इज नॉट पॉजिटिव एक्ट.
Right.
Negligence is something when you don't know about something that it will happen, and because of your careless it happens. So there is no positive act with it. So it is
For example, दो ड्राइवर थे.
हाँ, अब वो जो ड्राइवर वाली बात आप कह रहे हैं, तो मैं उसको नेग्लिजेंस ना मान के रेकलेसनेस मानूंगा. आप समझ रहे हैं मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ? There is some difference between recklessness and negligence. Recklessness blameworthiness में ऊपर आएगा क्योंकि ये पॉजिटिव एक्ट है, और नेग्लिजेंस था वो नेगेटिव एक्ट था, उसको अंदाजा ही नहीं था. तो अब नेग्लिजेंस क्राइम है कि नहीं? आप नेग्लिजेंस को टॉर्ट में भी पढ़ते हैं, सिविल रॉन्ग में. तो नेग्लिजेंस इज समथिंग व्हिच इज वेरी एम्फीबियस, बट यस रेकलेसनेस इज देयर. व्हेन रेकलेसनेस इज देयर इट क्वालिफाइज टू बिकम एन इलस्ट्रेशन ऑफ मेंस रिया. तो अगर हम मेंस रिया की बात करते हैं, गिल्टी माइंड की बात करते हैं, तो गिल्टी माइंड और मेंस रिया, मतलब मेंस रिया को इंग्लिश में गिल्टी माइंड कहेंगे. तो गिल्टी माइंड का एक इलस्ट्रेशन इंटेंशन होता है. अब इंटेंशन क्या होता है ये मुझे कौन बताएगा? डॉक्टर अमन गुप्ता आप बता सकते हैं कि इंटेंशन क्या होता है?
सर, सड़क पे दो ड्राइवर.
हाँ ठीक है.
सड़क पे एक ड्राइवर पेडेस्ट्रियन को हिट किया, उसको दिखा नहीं, लग गई चोट और लग गया, उसको मर गया. But that he realized it was damage was done. The intent was, recklessness was probably missing. दूसरा ड्राइवर था, उसने किसी को जानबूझ के उड़ा दिया गाड़ी से. उसको पैसे मिले थे, इसको मारना है, उसने उड़ा दिया उसको. Probably यही डिफरेंस है. इंटेंट और रेकलेसनेस एक में नहीं था और एक में है.
क्या फिर इंटेंशन क्या निकला, इसको शब्दों में कैसे बताएंगे आप? इलस्ट्रेशन तो चलिए आपने ठीक दिया, इसको शब्दों में कैसे बताएंगे आप? वर्ड्स में कैसे बताएंगे इंटेंशन क्या है, जो किसी एक पर्टिकुलर इलस्ट्रेशन पे नहीं, हर इलस्ट्रेशन पे लागू हो कि ये इंटेंशन होता है?
One done with conscious mind.
One done with conscious mind. Very good. Who is this?
Abhilash, sir. We are
Abhilash. But एक चीज ये भी तो हो सकती है, एक चीज ये भी तो हो सकती है कि मैं पुरानी दिल्ली की सड़कों पे 100 की स्पीड पे गाड़ी चला रहा हूँ और मुझे पता है कि चांदनी चौक के इलाके में बड़ा रश है, लोग मर जाएंगे, मगर मैं जानता हूँ कि मैं बहुत ही ओलंपिक टाइप का ड्राइवर हूँ और मुझे पता है मैं कट शट मार के लोगों को बचा लूंगा, कोई मरे वरेगा नहीं। तो बट
reckless
मर जाता है, तो ये क्या है?
recklessness है,
रेकलेसनेस है, इंटेंशन नहीं है।
दोनों ही है।
Intention, can I come in, sir?
Yes, please.
Intention basically, if we go in one of a very historic case, एक वो रंगा बिल्ला का केस हुआ था, चोपड़ा kids वाला, 1978 something. In that, the kids were picked from the gold market, Connaught Place, with an intention to kidnap, and then they were killed. So there was a premeditated planned intention to commit that crime.
एक सेकंड मिस्टर सिंह, माय क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट इज इंटेंशन? आपने जो एग्जांपल दिया इसमें आपने बताया कि वहां पे एक इंटेंशन था, प्रीमेडिटेटेड उनका प्लान था टू किल।
हाँ, okay. What is an
ये
intention?
इंटेंशन को कैसे आप डिफाइन करेंगे? वो ठीक कह रहे हैं आप, इंटेंशन को कैसे?
Intention is basically the consequence of your action which has eventually happened. If it was the same what you had planned, that was an intention.
So what is that what we have planned? It's very good. Like we cannot make out what is an intention, because
suppose if I plan to kill a man, and I go and I kill him, that means I had an intention for this eventual consequence which has happened, that the person has been killed.
Okay, Mr. Singh.
Can I come in?
So before committing the crime, Mr.
Raina, just a moment.
Can I come in?
Mr. Raina, just a moment. Look, Mr. Singh, अब जैसे आप ये बता रहे हैं कि प्रीमेडिटेटेड था तो वो इंटेंशन हो गया, भाई
बिफोर, हाँ जी,
ठीक बात है, प्रीमेडिटेटेड था तो इंटेंशन हो गया, लेकिन अगर नॉर्मल शब्दों में मैं आपसे कहूं कि भाई बताओ कि इंटेंशन क्या होता है, अब आप बता रहे हैं कि उसने ऐसा सोचा तो उसने ये कॉन्सिक्वेंस कर दिया, तो उसके एक्शन से हम पता लगाएंगे उसकी इंटेंशन का। आप यही कह रहे हैं ना, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग?
Intention means knowledge of wrongdoing. That's the simplest words which we can use.
Who is this?
Dr. Aman.
What are you saying, Mr. Aman? क्या है इंटेंशन?
Knowledge of wrongdoing.
नॉलेज ऑफ रॉन्ग डूइंग नॉलेज होता है, इंटेंशन नहीं होता। बहुत बड़ा फर्क है इंटेंशन और नॉलेज। अब एक सेकंड मिस्टर सिंह, और नॉलेज और इंटेंशन में इतना फर्क है कि अगर आपके पास इंटेंशन से इफ यू आर कमिटिंग होमिसाइड, देन यू विल बी बुक्ड अंडर सेक्शन 302, and if you are lacking that intention and you are having only knowledge, then you will booked under section 304 part 1 part 2, that is culpable homicide not amounting to murder, hatya. So there is a way difference between intention and knowledge. Yeah, कौन बोल? Yes, who was this? Mr. Raina, आप?
Hi, can I speak?
Can I come in?
just a moment, पहले मिस्टर रैना बोलेंगे, फिर जो सेकंड बोल रहे हैं वो बोलेंगे, फिर मिस्टर सिंह बोलेंगे अगर बोल रहा हूँ। मिस्टर रैना बोलिए।
Intention is mental makeup to commit an action which can be defined as a crime, or which is an act prohibited by law.
Mental makeup
in IPC.
Act prohibited by law जो है, that is basically actus reus. I am asking about.
No, I am talking about. The intention I am talking about is the mental makeup of any person to commit an act which he knows or which she knows.
Okay, fair enough. Which he knows. मतलब he is having some awareness, knowledge is there. It's very good.
Yes.
It's
yes,
very
motive.
It's very good. But मैं exactly जानना चाहता हूँ। अच्छा, अब ये intention, अच्छा वो और कौन?
Intention would be actually when there is an expected benefit.
There is a motive behind that. In intent, there is a motive.
अच्छा, और कौन बोलना चाह रहा था बीच में? मतलब उन्होंने बोला था, लेकिन क्योंकि आई एम नॉट सीइंग योर वीडियोस तो कई दफा छूट जाता है कोई। और कौन बोलना चाह रहा था?
Good morning, sir. Intention is a state of mind.
अब देखो, स्टेट ऑफ माइंड जो है ना, नॉलेज भी स्टेट ऑफ माइंड है, मेंसरिया पूरा ही स्टेट ऑफ माइंड है, रेकलेसनेस भी स्टेट ऑफ माइंड है।
It can be in positive way and the negative in both the sense, because sometimes intention is misjudged by someone, so it can be in the positive manner or it can be in the negative manner. So it is a state of mind which enables a person to do something.
अच्छा चलो,
intention
अब
is,
मैं इसको I am making it a bit
intention is basically a purpose. Like he has a purpose for
now
this.
now you are coming very near to it. Now
Yes,
you are
it is a
coming very
purpose. Like there was a purpose to
Very good.
commit this action.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Now you are coming very near to the right answer. Now you are moving towards the right answer.
Intention would be
Intent is intention, sir. Intention is
1 minute, Mr. Devdas.
the
and
person
Mr.
who is
Devdas-
doing the crime expect.
I was
Okay,
saying it
okay.
is premeditation. When you have intention, it's premeditation.
अब मैं थोड़ा सा इसको आसान करता हूँ, टाइम भी खत्म हो रहा है, लेकिन मैं इसको आसान करता हूँ. अच्छा, नॉलेज क्या होता है? आप नॉलेज बता देंगे, मैं इंटेंशन बता दूंगा. बहुत आसान. अगर आप मुझे नॉलेज बता दें तो मैं इंटेंशन आपको 1 मिनट में बताऊंगा और आपको बिल्कुल क्लियर हो जाएगी बात.
नॉलेज ये है कि
मेंटल रियलाइजेशन.
मेंटल रियलाइजेशन. वेरी गुड. कौन? हु इज दिस?
डॉक्टर अमन.
डॉक्टर अमन. मेंटल रियलाइजेशन मतलब अवेयरनेस. यस मिस्टर सिंह.
Knowledge is when he's aware
Awareness,
of this awareness, his actions. When he knows that these are the what he's doing, when he's clear about the consequences of his action.
ठीक है. अब मैं आपको बताऊं, इंटेंशन में भी ये अवेयरनेस होती है.
हाँ, so knowledge may or may not lead to the crime. So
Awareness,
that is the difference.
Yeah, but intention leads to the
नॉलेज
crime.
क्यों नहीं क्राइम को लीड कर सकती? अगर
May or may not.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
That's very true. But I am talking about that scenario when an act is committed. When an act is committed and the knowledge is present. मैं उस कंडीशन के बारे में बात कर रहा हूँ. Then how it will differ with intention? Awareness भी है, foresight भी है. Awareness और foresight इसके
So
साथ
knowledge there may be there may be a reception of passive ideas and impressions about something.
हाँ, that's okay. We are not going into it. It's very good. We all agree कि awareness होता है. लेकिन इंटेंशन का फर्क कैसे आता है? अब जो पहली डेफिनेशन यहाँ पे दे रहे थे मिस्टर सिंह, उन्होंने जब इंग्लिश यूज ना करते हुए व्हेन उन्होंने हिंदी भाषा का प्रयोग किया तो उनके मुंह से बिल्कुल सही आंसर निकला था. जो टर्म उन्होंने यूज किया था तंदूर कांड का, व्हेन ही वाज डिस्कसिंग अबाउट द तंदूर केस, द टर्म व्हिच केम आउट फ्रॉम मिस्टर सिंह माउथ वाज कि जानबूझ के. तो इंटेंशन वो होता है जब नॉलेज भी हो और जानबूझ के भी हो. जानबूझ के भी हो मतलब डिजायर भी हो. सो व्हेन देयर इज डिजायर प्लस अवेयरनेस, देन इट इज एन इंटेंशन. अब ये कुछ हुई चीज आपको क्या मतलब इंटेंशन का? नॉलेज तो नॉलेज है कि मैं अगर किसी के लीवर पे मार दूंगा, उसका लीवर स्प्लीन बड़ा हुआ है तो वो मर जाएगा. ये नॉलेज है. ठीक है, लड़ाई झगड़ा हुआ और मैंने लड़ाई झगड़े के